Welcome to the Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast with Forrest Kelly.
There isn't, I imagine, palm tree vineyards.
Oh, well, probably closer to you. There's some palm tree, I'd say, more like plantations or farms. But for us, you're mentioning the environmental impact element and reducing CO2. But with my background, I really wanted to bring this to market, but do it in a way, in a high quality way in terms of taste, but also not destroy the environment as I'm doing this. So for us, we don't actually need to source from palm trees. We can make palm wine without the palm trees. And by doing that, we reduce the environmental impact. And also on the producer side, we make it a lot easier, a lot faster. So we're not relying on clearing a piece of land in the forest and then planting some trees and coming back 10 to 30 years later to then start to harvest them. It's a really inefficient way of producing those molecules. So, what we actually use is part of the trade secret, but, I would say that we're source agnostic realistically. So we could procure our molecules from a variety of sources, and the ones that we're using right now, that's kind of our secret sauce.
Yeah, okay. In this journey of putting this whole thing together, you haven't reached total fruition yet, but in the journey, has there been a point when you were, wow, this is more difficult than what I thought, and I don't think I can get over this obstacle?
I think the challenge that I faced, and this was, I mentioned back in 2019, I kind of had this original epiphany aha moment. And, that's where the science was like, okay, how do I do this? What are the levers? Kind of identifying the different levers in the palm wine making world. And the years after, from 2020 to now, and probably years to come, is around the art of winemaking. So now I know the levers, but it's like I have the palette, I have the colors that I want to paint with. But how do we put those together to create a cohesive experience? That's kind of where I'm at right now. And this is a space where there's no right or wrong answer. It's just subjective. And, everyone has different sensory experiences with our wine. Some of them, they're like, oh, this one reminds me of palm wine. And then another person will be like, oh, no, this other one reminds me of palm wine. So there's no clear answer. And it's not like an existential, like, oh, are we going to make it or not? Yeah, it's an adventure, and there's no right answer here, in the space that we're at right now. It's the fun part. It's the, head-scratching part where you're looking at it and you're like, where does palm wine begin and end? I feel like it's some of the philosophical questions I'm asking right now.
There isn't different varietals, right? It's basically all just one quote-unquote vintage?
So when it comes to palm wine, I'm just focusing on wines that are based off of oil palm, sap, like the chemistry of oil palm. And that definitely has variety, let's say, seasonality, there's all these variances, but then there's other types of palms. There's raphia palm, there's coconut, there's all these different, this is where the grape world would call them varietals. There's different grapes. And even within that, there's a lot of stuff that you could do. There's different styles, I would say, that you could do with a given, input. So it's just this huge, huge white space. And yeah, it's trying to navigate that white space and communicate it to consumers in a way that makes sense.
If money was no object, would you have a store?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If money was no object, we would have a store. We would probably have some sort of food service alongside that store. And, for me, palm wine is just the beginning. It's a category that I have, cultural connection to. But in my travels and in my adventures, I've come across so many other beverages they have that same story of palm wine, whereas locally they've been enjoyed for thousands of years, but for various technical reasons, it's just difficult to bottle them. So for me, again, if money was no option or no, issue, and we had the time and resources, then, palm wine would be one of the offerings of our many offerings at Eco Wine.
The Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast.
Don't forget my favorite part.
Please like and follow. Oh.